Tonight, when you lie down and the room gets quiet, you'll do something different. You won't scroll one more time. You won't replay the worst moments of your day. You won't negotiate with your regrets like a lawyer trapped in your own head. Tonight, before you close your eyes, you're going to give your unconscious a different assignment. Not a long prayer, not a fake affirmation, not a mystical spell, just 7 simple words. 7. Spoken slowly, spoken honestly, spoken as if you finally decided to stop being at war with yourself. Carl Jung believed that most of your life is shaped by what you never say out loud, but keep repeating inside. The unconscious doesn't switch off when you sleep. It's working, sorting, stitching, rewriting while your body rests. The Stoics understood the same thing in their own way. They ended the day with what they called an evening examination, a moment to look back without panic and without self-hatred, and to hand the day over to something wiser inside. But most people don't do that. Most people don't fall asleep. They collapse. They fall into bed carrying the whole day like heavy armor, replaying the conversation where they felt stupid, replaying the face that disappointed them, rehearsing tomorrow's disaster before it even arrives. Then they wonder why they wake up tired, why their chest is tight before they even touch their phone, why every day feels like a continuation of the same invisible war. Jung would say, the psyche does not forget what you refuse to face. It only moves it into the dark. The Stoics would add, you cannot enter sleep peacefully if you cling to what you cannot control. End quote. Tonight, we are going to do something different. This video is not here to decorate your evening. It is here to recode the last minute of your day. Because that last minute, those last few breaths before you drift off, are more powerful than you think. They are the bridge between your conscious mind and the part of you that runs 90% of your life without asking. And on that bridge, you are going to speak 7 words. 7 words that are not magic, but that act like a key that tells your unconscious, you can stop defending. You can start healing now. By the end of this video, you will know those 7 words. You will know how to use them, and you will know why they change the texture of your sleep and slowly the shape of your days. So for now, just listen. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Feel your jaw loosen. You don't have to do anything yet. You're not behind. You're right on time. 2. While your nights feel like a battlefield. Let's start with a simple truth. You don't get exhausted only because of what you do during the day. You get exhausted because of what you keep carrying when the day is over. You know this feeling. The lights are off. The house is quiet, but your mind is not. You lie there and suddenly, the comment someone made 3 years ago appears like it was spoken 5 minutes ago. A mistake you already paid for stands in front of you like a prosecutor. Tomorrow's worst case scenario plays in your head like a movie you didn't buy a ticket for. This is not random. Jung would say this is the shadow knocking at the door. All the pieces of you that never got a proper conversation during the day. The Stoics would say this is attachment to what you can't control. Your mind trying to control outcomes, other people, your image, the past. And both are right. Your unconscious is like a loyal worker that never clocks out. All day long, it watches the way you talk to yourself. Every time you call yourself stupid, replay a humiliation, predict a disaster, or hold on to someone else's opinion like it's a court sentence. It takes notes, quietly, efficiently. Then, when you lie down and finally stop distracting yourself, it begins its shift. It doesn't invent something from nothing. It works with what you gave it. The last video you watched, the last words you spoke to yourself, the emotional tone you refused to feel but carried anyway. If what you handed at night is anger, resentment, self-contempt, fear of tomorrow, then your unconscious builds defenses, builds walls, builds a world that matches that tone. You call it waking up already tired, but at a deeper level, it's your psyche defending itself all night long. The Stoics didn't have MRI machines or sleep labs, but they understood the same phenomenon spiritually. They believe that if you do not review and release the day, you carry it into tomorrow like rust on your soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote every night to clear resentment, accept what cannot be changed, recommit to what he could actually influence, not to punish himself, but to end the day clean. You don't need marble statues or ancient robes to do this. You need one honest minute. And that is where the 7 words enter. 3. Sleep as a ritual, not a collapse. Most people treat sleep like a shutdown, a black screen between 2 episodes of stress. But Jung saw it differently. He saw sleep as a threshold, a crossing from the bright, noisy surface of your life into the deep, symbolic ocean underneath. The moment before you fall asleep is not ordinary. Psychologically, it's a gate. On one side stands your conscious mind, the part that argues, analyzes, controls, the part that says, I should have, I shouldn't have. On the other side is the unconscious, the part that dreams, the part that knows your fears before you name them, the part that remembers what your body felt when you were 6, even if your mind doesn't. For Jung, this gate is not empty. It's charged. For the Stoics, that gate is where you ask, what did I do today that was in my control? What did I cling to that was not? Now imagine this. Every night, you stand in front of this inner gate, carrying a bag full of arguments you can't win, expectations you can't control, imaginary futures that haven't happened, and a courtroom full of self-judgment. And then, without thinking, you dump that whole bag at the feet of your unconscious as the last imprint of your day. What do you expect it to build? Your unconscious is not a judge. It's more like soil. It doesn't ask if a seed deserves to grow. It simply grows what you plant. Plant worry, harvest nightmares. Plant resentment, harvest tension. Plant self-contempt, harvest shame. But this also means something else. If you plant something different, even something small, the soil responds just as faithfully. You don't need a 2-hour ritual on a mountaintop. You don't need candles, crystals, or complicated scripts. You need a pause, a breath, and 7 clear words handed over at that gate. Words that say, I'm putting down the sword. I'm done interrogating myself for tonight. I'm giving you better material to work with. This is not superstition. It's symbolic psychology. And symbols, as Jung reminded us, are the true language of the unconscious. 4. The 7 words, a new night code. In a few moments, I'll ask you to imagine yourself lying in bed tonight. The light off, your body heavy against the mattress, your breath slowing, and you will whisper 7 words. Not perfectly, not as a performance. Just honestly, these 7 words are simple, but each one carries a Stoic decision and a Jungian depth. Here they are. I am here. I choose peace. I release control. I forgive myself. I trust life. I welcome tomorrow. I sleep. 7 phrases, 7 signals. They are not rules. They are invitations. Now, let's walk through each one slowly so that when you speak them tonight, you're not reciting syllables. You're speaking from the center of your being. 5. Word 1. I am here. Say it in your mind right now, quietly. I am here. Most of your suffering doesn't come from the moment you're in. It comes from the moment you're not in. Replaying yesterday, rehearsing tomorrow, arguing with ghosts that aren't in the room. Jung would say that the ego loves to run into the past and leap into the future because it's terrified of simply being present. The Stoics were blunt about this. You live as if you had 1,000 years, Marcus wrote, but you only ever own the present moment. Will all their sense of problems, I am here is your way of calling yourself back. You're not in that office anymore. You're not in that argument anymore. You're not in that childhood anymore. You're in this room, on this bed, with this breath. When you say, I am here, you're not solving anything. You're ending the lie that you are somewhere else. You are not behind. You are exactly where your life actually is right now. I choose peace. Next, I choose peace. This is not denial. This is not pretending that everything is fine. This is a Stoic move. Peace for them was not a mood. It was a decision to stop handing your inner state to everything outside of you. You can't control what they said, what they didn't say, whether they understood you, or how tomorrow plays out. But tonight, in this bed, you can choose not to carry the war inside. Jung would say that the psyche responds to choices with energy. When you choose peace, even if you don't feel it yet, you're turning your inner steering wheel. You're saying, I'm not waiting for the world to calm down before I allow my nervous system to soften. I choose peace first. It's not a reward. It's a stance. 7. Word 3. I release control. Then I release control. This is where most people struggle because control feels like safety. But ask yourself honestly, how much have you actually controlled by worrying about it in bed? Did lying awake control the outcome? Did rehearsing the worst possible future make you stronger? Did punishing yourself shape tomorrow in your favor? The Stoics would say, some things are up to us. Many things are not. Jung would say, what you try to dominate inside yourself often returns as anxiety and compulsion. When you whisper, I release control, you're not giving up responsibility. You're giving up illusion. You're saying, I have done what I could for today. The rest is not mine to micromanage. Your unconscious, hearing this, no longer has to stand guard all night. It can start doing what it does best, integrating, processing, healing, instead of fighting. 8. Word 4. I forgive myself. Now, the one that many people avoid. I forgive myself. Maybe you made mistakes today. Maybe you said something you regret. Maybe you repeated a pattern you promised yourself you'd break. The answer is not to pretend it didn't happen. The answer is also not to torture yourself in your head until 3 in the morning. Jung saw a frightening amount of suffering coming not from what people experienced, but from how cruelly they spoke to themselves afterward. The Stoics were strict in discipline, but surprisingly gentle in this. Do not add a second injury. They'd say, by hating yourself for the first. When you say, I forgive myself, you're not saying I did nothing wrong. You're saying, I acknowledge what happened, I will learn from it, and I refuse to make my bed a courtroom. Your unconscious doesn't need perfect behavior to heal. It needs honesty without cruelty. Forgiveness is not letting yourself off the hook. It's taking the hook out of your own chest. 9. Word 5. I trust life. Next, I trust life. This does not mean I like everything that happened today. Dollar to art. It doesn't mean I understand why it all happened. Trust in this sense means I accept that there is more happening than my mind can currently measure. Jung saw what he called meaningful coincidences, those quiet alignments we call synchronicities. The Stoics saw logos, an underlying order to things that the mind often resists but can grow to accept. When you say, I trust life, you're not announcing blind optimism. You're loosening your grip on the idea that if I don't control everything, nothing good can come. You're opening a window. You're saying to your unconscious, you can show me possibilities that my daytime fear can't see yet. Trust is not passive. It's a courageous humility. 10. Word 6. I welcome tomorrow. Then I welcome tomorrow. Maybe you don't feel that yet. Maybe tomorrow scares you. It might hold a hard conversation, a test, a task you've been avoiding, or simply more of the same. But Stoicism isn't about loving only the easy days. It's about training your soul to stand up even in hard ones. To welcome tomorrow doesn't mean you expect it to be perfect. It means you stop meeting the future as an enemy. Jung would say that your attitude toward the future colors the symbols your unconscious sends you. If you always greet tomorrow with dread, your inner images sharpen in fear. When you whisper, I welcome tomorrow, you are saying, whatever comes, I will meet it as a participant, not a victim. I will be available to my own strength. This shifts your whole posture. Tomorrow is no longer a monster behind the door. It becomes a landscape you're willing to walk into. 11. Word 7. I sleep. Finally, I sleep, not I escape. Not I shut down, just I sleep. This is the moment of surrender. You're giving your unconscious a clear signal. You can take over now. I am not going to supervise you all night. Jung said that true transformation often happens in the parts of us that are not under conscious control. The Stoics knew that even an emperor has to close his eyes at some point and trust that the world will spin without his permission. When you say, I sleep, you're giving yourself that same permission. You are not the god of the night. You are a human being who has earned rest. And that is enough. 12. A 3-night experiment with your soul. Now, I'm not asking you to believe any of this on theory alone. I'm inviting you into a 3-night experiment. For the next 3 nights, when you're in bed, lights off, phone put away, give yourself 1 minute. Take 3 slow breaths all the way down to your abdomen. Feel the weight of your body on the mattress. Then, either out loud in a whisper or silently in your mind, say, I am here. I choose peace. I release control. I forgive myself. I trust life. I welcome tomorrow. I sleep. Don't rush it. Leave a small pause between each phrase. You don't have to feel each word fully. You just have to mean it enough to stop lying to yourself in the opposite direction. On the first night, maybe all you notice is that your mind argues back a little less. On the second night, you might find that you fall asleep 5 minutes earlier, or you wake up with one less knot in your chest. On the third night, something subtle might shift. Your first thought isn't as hostile. The thing that terrified you yesterday feels 2% more workable today. The world feels less like a threat and more like a challenge. This is not because the words themselves are magical. It's because you stopped handing your unconscious the usual weapons: self-hatred, control, dread. Instead, you gave it presence, peace, release, forgiveness, trust, a gentle welcome, and permission to rest. You changed the tone of the raw material it works with, and tone is everything. 13. How this changes your days. Stoic style. Here's where Stoicism and Jungian psychology meet in your everyday life. When you sleep with a different tone, you wake with a different starting point. And from that starting point, your daily Stoic practices become easier. It's easier to pause before reacting. It's easier to remember. This is outside my control. I won't give it my whole soul. It's easier to hear the softer voice inside that says, you don't have to abandon yourself to keep someone else. Jung would say that what you repeat with symbolic intention becomes a new pattern in the unconscious. The Stoics would say that what you practice at night prepares your character for the day. So, when someone cuts you off in traffic, the space you created at night gives you one extra breath before you explode. When an old memory visits you, it doesn't drag you under as quickly. There's more room for you to say, yes, that hurt, and I am not living there anymore. When the future feels uncertain, you remember, I don't need certainty to act. I need courage in this moment. This is not about never feeling anxious again. It's about not abandoning yourself. Every time anxiety speaks, the 7 words are not a replacement for therapy, action, or accountability. They are a nightly alliance with the part of you that wants to heal, instead of endlessly rehearse your own ruin. 14. The woman who stopped bringing armor to bed. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a woman, let's call her Emma. Emma goes to bed every night like this. She lies down, opens her phone, scrolls until her eyes burn, then turns off the light. And that's when it starts. The email she didn't answer, the tone in her boss's voice, the way her friend paused on the phone that made her feel like a burden. Her chest tightens. She rehearses a different version of the day, where she said the right thing, where nobody misunderstood her, where she was unshakably confident. She doesn't fall asleep. She loses consciousness. After interrogating herself for an hour, then she wakes up exhausted. Not because her job is uniquely brutal, but because she is reliving each day twice, once in reality and once in a private trial at 1 a.m. Now imagine Emma trying the 7 words. The first night, it feels silly. Her mind argues. You don't deserve peace. You haven't fixed enough yet. You'll drop your guard and everything will fall apart. But she repeats them anyway. I am here. I choose peace. I release control. I forgive myself. I trust life. I welcome tomorrow. I sleep. On the 3rd night, she notices something strange. The day is still demanding, but the weight is different. She feels one thin layer of armor removed. Not all of it, but one. Over weeks, if she keeps going, those 7 words become more than a ritual. They become a boundary, a line that says, during the day, I will show up, do my best, make repairs where I can. At night, I will not continue the war inside. That shift, quiet, unseen, spoken in a dark room with no audience, is where real transformation begins. Not in grand declarations, but in small decisions repeated with truth. 15. Closing. Tonight, you give yourself back. So here you are, listening to this with your own story behind your eyes. Maybe you've been falling asleep at war with yourself for years. Maybe you've never said a kind sentence to yourself as the last words of your day. Tonight is not a performance. It is a reunion between you and the part of you that's tired of fighting, the part of you that longs for quiet, the part of you that wants to trust that life can be more than constant defense. Jung said that true change often arrives, not with thunder, but with a quiet realization that something inside has softened. The Stoics would say that a strong soul is not the one that never feels fear, but the one that chooses how to respond to that fear again and again. Tonight, you respond differently. So when this video ends and you're ready to sleep, try it. Turn off the light. Let the room be what it is. Feel your body heavy, supported. Take 3 slow breaths. And then, as if you were speaking directly to the deepest part of you, say, I am here. I choose peace. I release control. I forgive myself. I trust life. I welcome tomorrow. I sleep. No drama, no pressure for miracles. Just a simple, quiet pact with yourself. 7 words, 1 minute, a different kind of night. And if one evening you notice that you wake a little lighter, that your first thought is a bit more gentle, that life feels 1% less like a battlefield and 1% more like a path you can walk, you'll know it wasn't an accident. It was you. You chose to stop attacking yourself at the door of sleep. You chose to hand your unconscious better seeds, and life, sooner or later, always grows what you planned. Good night. Really, good night.